Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Hey guys, welcome to the pod. So today I'm going to kick it off with a disclaimer. So today's episode is only for those over 21 years old, and also it is not health advice. I'm just presenting you with some information so you can do your own research, talk to your healthcare provider, your trusted advisor, whoever you talk to when you're making decisions to decide if anything we're talking about is right for you today. Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about the old Mary J, the weed, the grass, the dope, the pot, the cannabis. We're talking cannabis today, you guys. So who's my guest? I have on Ellen Scanlon. Ellen's going to help us sort all this out, you guys, because she is the host of the How to Do the Pot podcast. Her mission is to inspire women to make more informed choices about their health and well-being. She talks to medical professionals for practical tips, experts for cannabis recommendations, and listeners for funny and intimate stories. So during our episode, we talk about both of our personal journey stories with cannabis. We talk about all the stigmas. We know in our age group, we grew up with the war on drugs and everything else, and there's a huge stigma with it. So this can be something we have to overcome if this is something we decide to bring into our lives. We talk about all the things. The main thing we talk about are the benefits for using cannabis as middle-aged women. Did you guys know that 1 in 4 women are trying cannabis to combat their menopause symptoms? Yes. We go over the basics of doing the pot. I don't know if you guys know this, but you can get lots of benefits from it and not get high at all. So if you're getting ready to turn the whole show off, like I'm not getting high, Jen, you do not have to get high to get the benefits from the cannabis plant. So we talk about all the different modalities. You do not need to smoke it. There are lots of different ways that you can use this. She walks us through it all. So let's jump right in because we got a lot to cover today. And I would just ask that you again go into this open-minded because we've got some limiting beliefs around this, is what I believe. A lot of us in this age group. So let's go into this with an open mind and let's jump in and just learn all the things about, if you so decide, how to do the pot. Hey, Ellen, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited, Ellen, to hear you guys, because like I said, we're talking all things pot today. She's got her own podcast, How to Do the Pot, and there's just so many episodes, you guys. So we're going to hit all the logistics today with you guys, right? But if you want to dive deeper, and I know you will, you're going to want to go listen to lots of her episodes like I have been, because there's just so much really good information, especially if this whole concept and idea is new to you out there, which for us midlifers, it is for a lot of people, right? It's not something we did. And we're going to talk about all that. So Ellen, just tell us a little bit about the story of what brought you to using cannabis.
Sure. It's really health issues that brought me into the industry. I was on a trip to New Orleans many years ago in 2010, and I ended up having a very bad bike accident. I fell off my bike, but I broke 16 of my teeth. I tore up my shoulder. I broke several ribs, my wrist, all kinds of issues. And I'd never had any health issues prior to that. And the recovery from that accident was so challenging. I don't know if you've ever broken a tooth or any of your listeners have.
It's the worst pain ever. Tooth pain is the worst.
It's the worst pain. And imagine, each tooth is like 3 to 5 appointments. It's incredibly expensive. So it's so stressful. And I don't take pain medicine very well. So I was taking an enormous amount of Advil. And what ended up happening was Advil was tearing up the lining of my stomach. It was creating all of these other side effects. And so for the first time in my life, I had a very, very bad health issue, but the side effects were really bad too. And I think it created this situation where, number one, I learned that I really had to advocate for my own health. And number two, that I was doing everything that my doctors told me and I wasn't getting better. And so I started to understand that there needed to be alternatives. I needed to find alternatives. And so I healed from that accident. And then I started to try to have a baby. I'd gotten married and I wanted to have a child. And in this nearly 4-year journey to have my son, who's now 7, I learned that I have endometriosis, which is a painful disease that affects 1 in 10 women. And cannabis is an incredible treatment for the pain. So I think all of those things sort of came together. Cannabis became legal for adult use in California, where I live, in 2018. And that's when I got into the industry, and I wanted to tell other women all the things that I was learning about cannabis, and the ways that cannabis was helping me felt very normal and like a regular part of life. And I
Yeah.
wanted to bring that experience to other women who had grown up with all kinds of stigmatizing and scary messaging. And so that's what I've been trying to do.
Have you been using cannabis since 2018, or that's when you started really jumping into advocating for it? What
2019 is when I got into the industry. So I was doing a lot of research around 2018. I
Okay.
tried cannabis when I was in high school and college. I've always sort of been a fan, but it would come in and out of my life, especially I joke about this sometimes. It was always through a guy. You needed to have a guy in order to get weed. And
You had to
I
have the
sometimes
guy.
had a guy and sometimes I didn't have a guy. And so that sort of depended on whether I got cannabis. And when it became legal in California in 2018, I didn't need a guy anymore. I could go into a safe place and
Hmm.
buy it myself and buy what worked for me. And
That has been a game changer.
yes, it's enormous because you can go in and ask the questions that matter to you. I mean, I'm such an advocate for safe legal cannabis because I think that everyone should have access to what has been something that's been really scary in a way that helps them to feel safe and supported
Yep.
and just open. So that's the long story of how I got into the industry.
And I'll just briefly tell you guys how I got to it, because I know I've talked a little bit on the show, but I started using cannabis for health reasons about 10 years ago also. I was in the middle of a bunch of health issues, autoimmune, I was being misdiagnosed, diagnosed, just all kinds of craziness, a lot of pain, a lot of all kinds of things. And so I had done everything the doctor said. I couldn't sleep. I was in pain. I took all the pills the doctors gave me, and they were awful to my body. I felt worse. It didn't control the pain. And the main thing, I couldn't sleep. And if you guys know, if you can't sleep well, everything in your world's going downhill fast. And I took the prescription meds. I even had one, and he said, just keep adding a pill until you fall asleep, to the point where I was like a handful. And it was the worst sleep of my life because I would get night terrors. So I told that doctor, I said, yeah, this isn't working for me. I don't know what to do. I've tried all your things. And he actually said to me, you should try marijuana. And I said, well, how do I do that? Because I had never done that. And he said, well, I can't help you. I can't fill out your forms, because he was restricted by the hospital and everything else. But he said, you should go find someone and get some, because you should be taking some indica at bedtime. I think it would work. I'm like, oh, well, thanks for telling me this after a nightmarish year, but okay. So then I went on my journey. I went and found a doctor that would prescribe it for me. I'm in Illinois. So at the time it was legal only medical for me to go to the dispensary. So I got my medical card, blah, blah, blah. 10 years later, it's still been the best thing for sleep for me, right? I utilize it for other things here and there, but my primary thing is that sleep. And it has changed my whole health. I'll just say that. And not that this is for everyone, but let's just get it all out there and talk about it so you guys at home can do your own research and see if this is what could work for you, for what you're dealing with. So that's how I came to it too, health stuff. And I was not like you where it came in and out of my life. It only came in my life then because I was a little stickler for the rules. And also, let's talk about this stigma thing, especially for us middle agers, because we were raised with the war on drugs. Okay. I remember this specifically as a child. I remember the commercial where there was a frying pan and then they cracked the egg. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. And then we saw the egg just frying and disintegrating. And I was like, oh God, we were scared to death about it. Right? So that's really all I knew growing up was the scare tactics of it. And then there was always, the stereotype of just this hippie burner sitting on the couch with no motivation in life, just with the munchies. It didn't seem like there was a value in it. Is that how you were brought up or no? Is it just me?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes. I was very scared. I saw those same ads. I was totally scared of drugs and what they were going to do to me. My dad was a lawyer, so I was very scared of the law. And so
Sure.
the first time that I smoked pot, I knew I was doing something wrong. I was probably also drinking a beer. And so I knew I was kind of doing two things that were wrong. And as I got older and it came in and out of my life in college, I think that what I actually liked about it was very relaxing for me. I'm a person that has struggled with anxiety, struggled with nervousness and stress. And what I've come to believe about cannabis is that most people who like how it feels for them are getting a medical benefit. And I was certainly getting a relaxation medical benefit. And now that I know so much more about the endocannabinoid system, which is a system in all of our bodies, everyone has one. It's similar to the cardiovascular system. It is a system that is created to maintain balance in your body. It helps to create homeostasis. And so now I understand that if you smoke cannabis, one of the reasons that you feel relaxed so quickly is because it's balancing your endocannabinoid system. So looking back, I think that cannabis has always been a medical thing for me because I wanted a balanced endocannabinoid system. Another kind of fun fact about the endocannabinoid system that might help your listeners to understand what it feels like to have a balanced endocannabinoid system. For years, people have thought that it's endorphins that make you feel good after a great run or some great exercise. It's actually the endocannabinoid system being balanced. So the runner's high is real. That is the feeling that a small amount of cannabis that is connected with your body in a positive way, that's the feeling that you can get from it. So as we get more science, as there's more research that's available, we're, I think, going to understand a lot of what this balancing system does. And that hopefully will be the narrative that people can start to understand about cannabis instead of thinking that you're going to be laying on the couch, unable to do anything. It's like, no, it's actually how you feel after a great walk or a wonderful hug with a friend, this sense of well-being.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know about this runner's high because I've never ran long enough to get there, but I do hear what you're saying. So you're saying that this system in our body actually is controlling that high, giving us that effect naturally.
Yes. So everyone has an endocannabinoid system. I actually just recently interviewed the CEO of a biotech firm who is incredibly excited about the potential of the endocannabinoid system. So it was discovered in the 1990s in Israel by a physician there named Raphael Mechoulam. And he was the first person to identify that we have a system that connects internally and externally with the endocannabinoid system. So exogenous cannabinoids are like when you take a gummy for sleep, or if someone were to smoke a joint, that is bringing the sense of balance to your endocannabinoid system. But we all have them. And a deficiency in your endocannabinoid system is right now being studied to see whether that could be the cause of things like autoimmune diseases, things like endometriosis. So it's a really important system in your body that most people don't know about. Many physicians don't know about because it wasn't taught in medical schools. Although, just for the record, menopause is not taught in medical schools either. So I think that there is a lot that we can all benefit from a wider focus on women's health, especially, but also health in alternative ways. So yes, it's a system that we all have. And so your body wants to sleep. And when you take whatever it is that you take, that helps your body to reach this level of homeostasis. And then you can have a normal night's sleep. You can wake up without feeling groggy. All of the things that your body wants to do, but for a variety of reasons, stress is a huge one, but many other things, aging, it just isn't as easy to get there. And so cannabis can almost supplement. I think about it like a vitamin. For me, cannabis really is like a vitamin.
Yeah. I want to dispel just a couple myths that we might be thinking or stigmas that might be preventing us from doing all this. Okay, first of all, let's talk about, you prefer cannabis, not marijuana. There's a million names for it, you guys, am I right? Mary J, pot, weed, grass. We got a lot of nicknames for it. And so I feel like when we use the word cannabis, it feels more official. Is that what you're thinking, Ellen?
It's the name of the plant. So it's a little bit more sort of like botanically correct. Marijuana is a word that has actually a lot of really racist roots to it, unfortunately. It's sort of a Chinese word that also has some Spanish in it. And it was really used to say this is a group of people who are not like you, who are doing something bad. And so a
Oh,
lot of people in the industry have kind of moved away from the word marijuana towards
well, yeah.
cannabis.
Well, now that I know that, I'm not using that anymore.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did a whole
Oh my
episode about
God.
this actually. I have a series called Weed Words that helps to dispel some of the sort of the myths around these words even. Yes, you can listen to my episode all about the weed word marijuana, but it has racist roots.
Okay. So cannabis though is the plant and we're not offending anyone by that, right?
Correct. And, the reason my show is called How to Do the Pot is because I feel like people my age grew up calling it pot and they're the ones who are kind of the most scared of it. And so I wanted to like have a little fun, just make you realize this is just a plant. It's going to be fine. And so that's why I call my show How to Do the Pot. I've lived in the West Coast for 15 years now, and almost everybody out here calls it weed. So I have lots of terms for it also, but I do generally stay away from marijuana.
Tell me about your thoughts on this. So a lot of people, as I was growing up, it's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug, Ellen. If you start there, it's not gonna end. Pretty soon you're gonna be doing lines of cocaine and crack. I don't know. So what would you say to people who that's their fear right now?
I'm sorry that that has been such a scary message for so many people. It has not been my experience. It's not the experience that the science will tell you. I mean, I think that the opioid crisis in our country will tell you that there are significantly more dangerous drugs than cannabis, which has been around for many, many years. As cannabis potency changes and as the industry evolves, higher potency cannabis is getting a lot of press for being really dangerous. And by higher potency, I mean, if you're buying the flower, over 20, 25% THC. THC is the intoxicating part of the plant. And so we're getting a lot more information about what consumers of those high potency products, the effects that they might have. And the studies that I have seen have shown that people that have alcohol use disorder kind of range in the under 20% of the population, and cannabis use disorder is lower than that. I've seen numbers from sort of like 9 to 15% of people. So if you know someone that has an issue with alcohol, you might know someone that has an issue with cannabis. No one has ever died from cannabis consumption. There are no overdoses. It is a very safe molecule in your body. This is what I was just talking to the biologist about. So the gateway drug thing, it's been around for a very long time. I think it's a scare tactic. I would actually say that your experience is more the gateway drug, that people who can't sleep will say, oh, I'm going to try anything because not sleeping is the worst. And
No,
they
and then
try
you get
cannabis.
addicted to those drugs.
Well, but they try cannabis and then they think, oh, this is helping me sleep so much. This is what, I want to learn more about cannabis. I want to learn more about how it could help me in my life. So I think that the gateway drug, we sort of joke in the industry, is actually sleep. That's what brings most people into cannabis, when they can't sleep and they find that it works.
And I will say, just from experience, I've been using it for 10 years now. And I don't have to take it. I feel no addiction, you guys. I've never thought once about moving on to bigger and better things. That's
Neither
just my
have
personal
I. I mean,
testimony. Yeah.
anything can be habit forming, but cannabis is a very safe substance. Right now, this is sort of the big issue that is happening at the government level. At the end of the Biden administration, Biden recommended that cannabis be moved from a Schedule 1 substance, which is similar to cocaine and heroin, to a Schedule 3 substance, which is more like codeine with cough medicine. And right now that process has been stalled with the new administration, but a new person was just brought into the DEA, and he said it's one of his first priorities to review the scheduling. So moving cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 substance would have enormous implications for the ability to study it and for all kinds of information to really move forward in our understanding of what this plant can do for humans. So I'm hopeful that that will happen, but it's been very slow.
Because we can finally do the research, and we have to just push past big pharma because they don't want this to go down. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's a complicated thing. You're right. But I hope it does get descheduled down to level 3, because there's far too many people serving prison sentences too. I won't even get into that. But there's, it's definitely not equal to everything in the category 1. So
No, I mean,
Nope.
there are at least two, maybe three FDA approved drugs for children that help with things like epilepsy that are approved by the FDA. And yet cannabis is still a Schedule 1 substance. So there's some just that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then if you have someone out there who has done a 12-step program, would you consider this to still be sober, not sober? Do you feel like that's still an option for those women?
This is a huge topic, and I was so grateful. One of my longtime listeners reached out to me. She hosts a podcast called Recovery Rocks, and she is sober from alcohol and had a lot of issues with anxiety. And her doctor was pushing some prescriptions on her that she wasn't comfortable taking. And so she found a physician who was very knowledgeable about cannabis, and she's been able to responsibly use cannabis to help her with anxiety and to stay sober from alcohol. And it's a harm reduction approach. I think that's what a lot of people would call it. And it was really interesting talking to Tawny and to Lisa, her co-host on the show, who is also sober. And Lisa was equating it to when she got into 12-step programs 20 years ago, and people in the program were very skeptical of using antidepressants and whether that was staying sober. And they both talked about how their feeling is that 20 years from now, responsible use of cannabis is going to be much more similar to the way that people consider antidepressants and mental health solutions. So I don't have a recommendation. I think it's individual for everyone. But the great news is that especially with telehealth now, there are a lot of really great physicians who have been working in states that have had legal cannabis for a decade plus. And so they can help you on that journey if there isn't someone in your state who understands how cannabis works as medicine.
Yes. And we talked a little bit about how many of our doctors don't really know about this and recommend it yet. So if we're going into a conversation with our physician, I don't know, what do you think? We need to be honest about it, talk about what we want to do. But if they're not on board, should we just go find a new doctor? What do you think, Ellen? I mean, it's tricky because we've established with our doctors, right? But also, if what they're doing isn't working for us, we have to advocate for ourselves, right? And say, okay, I want to find a cannabis-friendly physician to help me with this.
I think there are a couple of different ways to think about it. And getting a second opinion in a medical setting can feel really awkward and uncomfortable. And every single time I've done it, I've been happy that I did. And it's a hassle, all of those things. But I think that finding a doctor who is the right fit for you is a really, really important thing to prioritize if you can. I think that, as I said, there are a lot of telemedicine options for cannabis physicians now. And so that could supplement what you are looking to get from your current physician. I think that depending on what you're trying to solve for, I just think that you kind of know whether you are getting what you need from your physician. And if you're not getting what you need from your physician, you can consider supplementing with a physician that knows a lot about cannabis, or you might need a different one. But having that conversation, I've had a lot of doctors on the show, and what they talk about is explaining how cannabis helps you and saying, this is what it's doing for me. Have you talked to other patients that are having a similar experience? What else would you recommend that I use? And so I think that kind of opening it up as almost an intellectual discussion, like, hey, I didn't expect my sleep to be so great with cannabis, but it really is. And so it's having all these positive effects on my life. Let's talk about it. For me, it's always been a conversation around endometriosis because that is the condition that I use cannabis the most for. And I would say and CBD also is, we should really talk about that. I love CBD. I think
We're going to get into it. We're going to get into all the how to do the pot. Don't worry about that.
For so many conditions, but CBD is legal all across the country. And so if your doctor has a problem with CBD, then I think I have to say they're pretty uninformed.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, so we're middle-aged women. Let's talk about all the things it can help us with for everybody out there. Basically, it's turning out to be very helpful for those of us either in perimenopause or menopause. And that can be everything from tell us everything. What are all the things that you have heard that it's helping with for people?
Sure. So right now, 1 in 4 women are trying cannabis to help with menopause symptoms. So that is a lot of women who are trying to find relief and not finding it. I had an incredible physician, Dr. Lauren Stryker, who is based in
Yes, I
Illinois
saw
on the
that.
show.
Yep, I
And
started
so
listening to those. I love it.
she's amazing. I highly recommend listening to those episodes. I think that in general, stress, sleep, and sex, pain are the reasons that people try cannabis in general are the same reasons that women try it in perimenopause and menopause. But I think sleep just continues to be such a priority. And the way that cannabis works with sleep, a lot of women have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. Some, unfortunately, have both. For me, it was staying asleep, and staying asleep can really, really be supported with CBD. If you have trouble falling asleep, you may need some THC. And so a combination of those two is what I think is helping so many women in perimenopause and menopause sleep better.
Yes, me for sure. Mine's a combination. Mine's got CBD and THC, and I use a gummy. That's where I found like a lot of relief. Yep,
Yeah.
love me my bedtime gummy.
I think that sex is another place that women are experimenting with cannabis and finding ways to bring it into their life. And there are several different ways to try cannabis for sex. The first would be a topical, so a serum like a weed lube, and that will have no intoxicating effects whatsoever. If you have any pain with sex, that will really help to relieve that pain. 70% of women have pain with sex at some point in their life. So it's very, very common.
Because we start to get dry, we start to get more painful things going on. It's just part of this phase of life. Yeah. So did you
Absolutely.
guys know that? Did you hear that, guys? There's a lube with CBD and you're not going to get high. No worries. It's just going
No,
to do what it needs to do. Yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
What
And
else? Tell us more,
I
Ellen.
I have lots of episodes about sex, so definitely check
Mm-hmm.
those out if
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
curious. I think that the advice that I've gotten from people who are experts is you need less THC than you think to have better sex. So in general, cut your gummy in half. This is usually my advice. If you're drinking a THC drink, try half of it. See how your body feels, because what you don't want, especially if you're bringing cannabis into the bedroom for the first time, is to not feel like yourself. Like, I think that the experience should be one where you feel more present in your body. And in general, that's going to be good for better sex all around. So if you have your weed lube so that you're bringing blood flow into the area, that is going to really increase sensation, make you feel better. If you can get a little bit of relaxation from a blend of CBD and THC, many, many women are finding that the ability to make you feel present, to stay in your body, makes for a much better sexual experience.
So dosing is different because listen, if I'm taking my gummy to go to sleep, I'm going to sleep. So probably I don't need near that much because in your episodes, I remember her saying you're more sensitive to touch. You relax more. It actually raises your libido. It increases your desire if that's what's lacking for you right now. And then it even had in there, women are reporting just way better orgasms, just better stuff. Yeah. And I think they even have, did I see they have suppositories too, vaginal suppositories that can go in there and help you with all of this too. And then the loop. Yeah. So better sex. There we go. Better sleep, better sex. What else?
Yeah, vaginal suppositories are interesting, and they are not something that everyone is comfortable with. Once you start using them, they're super easy. That's what I use for endometriosis, for any menstrual cramps. The vaginal suppositories go directly to the source. So going back to the endocannabinoid system, women have the second highest amount of receptors for the endocannabinoid system in your pelvic region. So putting a suppository into, you have to put it into your vagina, it will go right to the source and really relieve any type of pain that you're having. So if part of the reason that sex isn't as good as it used to be is because you're having pain, a suppository can really, really help.
You might feel a little weird about putting suppository in, but like you said, once you get going on it, you're like, okay,
Yeah,
I can do
wait like
this.
20 minutes, lay on your bed, kind of put your knees up a little bit, just relax, listen to some nice music and kind of feel your body. I think that that's one of the things that cannabis is so excellent at helping people and women do. Just kind of be present in your body, which is not that easy to do in a really
It's not
busy,
easy at
hectic
all.
life.
No, no. So it lets you be more present. And then what about the old hot flashes and weight changes? Have you had people tell you it helps with some of that?
So THC is showing a lot of promise in helping with hot flashes, and Dr. Stryker goes into this in the show. And so I think that hot flashes are so much worse for your body than I think people have realized. And as we get more research, we're realizing that these spikes in cortisol, which have a correlation to weight gain. And so if you are having hot flashes, trying to stop them, trying to get your body back into this balanced state, THC is showing the most promise in that. So the gummies that you're taking for sleep that have a little bit of THC and CBD are also helping with any hot flashes that you might be having, which then help with weight gain. So it is all connected. I wish that there were more double blind gold standard studies to tell you. But the reason that Dr. Stryker, who is a professor at Northwestern Medical School and has been an incredible advocate for women, she didn't come to cannabis because she likes it. She came because her patients were saying to her, this is working. And so she has become an expert because she knows that it's helping so many people. So 1 in 4 women are trying it, which just to me says so much in a country where currently cannabis is legal for adult use in more than 20 states, for medical use in nearly 40 states. But that's not everyone. And still women are finding it because it's working.
And then one thing to disclaim, because you've talked to a lot of experts, mental health. I've had questions from people on that because there's differing opinions on it. Let's just use anxiety for an example. In fact, I had someone ask me today, what about anxiety? Because I've heard that even CBD can cause anxiety to get worse instead of better. Is that something you've heard from the experts?
I have never heard that CBD increases anxiety or makes it worse. THC, if you have ever experienced or talked to someone who's experienced feeling too high, that sense of paranoia, that sense of nervousness, that is what too much THC can do to your body. That's what it can make you feel like. And so increases of anxiety come from having too much THC. CBD, in my experience, actually balances that out. So I have a trick. If you ever feel like you're too high, have a CBD oil tincture around and put some under your tongue, wait 15 minutes. You will come down from your high and feel much more like yourself within about 15 minutes. So I think what's tricky about the mental health conversation is that many people take cannabis to relax and to feel better and to lower stress. But if you have more THC than what your body is comfortable with, it can increase anxiety. And so there's always sort of unfortunately, like a Goldilocks. You have to try, like, is this too little? Is this too much? What's the right amount for you? The other thing that makes this extra complicated is that women, like your menstrual cycle can change your tolerance to cannabis by up to 30%. So depending on where you are in your cycle, you can feel more high from the same cannabis. So this is all why I've tried to bring on the best experts I possibly can to my show to give you what we know right now and hope that we will continue to get more research that can make all of this really clear.
So it sounds like if you're unsure, I mean, we're going to talk about this anyway, but it's just low and slow, guys. You don't down the whole 10 milligram gummy when you're starting out.
A 10 milligram gummy would be a terrible experience for me. The right amount of THC for me is like 1 to 3 milligrams, maybe like on a Friday or Saturday night. With double the amount of CBD, I like to drink the cannabis beverages. I'll start with a half. Start with half of everything. Give yourself some time. As the onset time can also be complicated for people because you're like, nothing's happening, nothing's working. I'm going to take another. Please don't take another. Never take another. These edibles can take 1 to 2 hours to take effect. If you tried a cannabis beverage, that's more like 15, 20 minutes, which is great because you can start to figure out how you like to feel. But in general, start low.
Yes. So let's jump into some logistics here of how to do the pot, girls. So let's first talk about this. THC versus CBD. Tell me about the difference.
Sure. THC is the intoxicating part of the plant. That is what will bring on the classic feelings of feeling high. If you're a medical patient, it's also what will take away your pain. So if you're in pain, you're going to need more THC than you think in order to feel better. CBD really helps with an inflammation. It is the non-intoxicating part of the plant. And so that's the way to think about it. THC will get you high, CBD will not. And I think that what I like about CBD is it has all of the wonderful balancing effects that you get from having your endocannabinoid system balanced without any increase in intoxication. So the way that I like to feel with cannabis is like myself after a 5-mile run. That's sort of what makes
Yeah.
it feel perfect for me. And what I need for that is a lot of CBD. So that's what I like to take. And then a little bit of THC, which can help to activate the CBD so that it will feel them more quickly and you will feel a little bit more kind of classically what you expect. Like maybe you'll start laughing. Maybe you'll smell something delicious. Maybe you'll look out and see something beautiful. It kind of enhances the experience for you.
So what about this? They're starting to do like CBN and other CB versions. What are those?
So these are they're called minor cannabinoids, and there hasn't been a lot of research about them, but they are showing a lot of promise. CBN specifically around sleep. That is one that I think if you buy gummies, you may see, usually they have kind of like blue or purple labels, which goes with the idea of an indica plant, which going back to the plant of cannabis, and you asked about sativa and indica and then hybrid. So I don't know how many women in middle age are starting out now smoking cannabis first. I think that edibles and beverages are probably the way that people are finding the plant now because they're so much more accessible. And so sativa and indica are different types of plants. Indica plants were originally born in mountainous climates. They're bushy, they're hardy, they have the pain relieving qualities, they have the sleep focused qualities. Sativa plants generally are from warm climates, so they are more of kind of the bubbly, the happy, the uplifting, the creative. But those plants have now been turned into edibles and beverages and tinctures. And so the strains are less important and it is more of a consumer packaged good now. Like you don't exactly know where the peanuts that came from your Jif peanut butter came from. You just know that they're peanuts. And so I think that those classifications are becoming less important. They also are complicated and everyone's physiology is different. So the best way to tell if you are going to like a cannabis flower is to smell it. And don't pay any attention to whether it says indica or sativa. If it smells good to your body, it's probably going to be a positive experience for your body because most of what is sold in dispensaries today are hybrids. So you're really not getting the experience.
My theory on the whole smoking thing is, and I think as we get older, a lot of us think this way, I just feel like I don't need to put any smoke into my lungs because I got enough problems already, right? That seems whatever kind of smoke it is. It just seems like a bad idea these days. And there's so many other ways to do this now. We don't need to do that. So you're saying smell the plant, but what if we're doing like gummies? We're at the dispensary.
I mean, what I'm saying is you don't really need to pay
care.
attention to sativa.
See, because I usually
indica.
go in and I think I need my indica for sleep. But you're saying maybe, I do a lot of hybrids too, though. Yeah. So because I don't want to accidentally get a sativa that's like supposed to make y'all happy and jumpy when I'm going to bed.
Of course.
Is this old school I'm thinking?
No, not at all. This is more of a shopping problem. Like when you go into a dispensary or wherever you're buying it, you just need to tell them you're looking for sleep products. And there are products that are specifically made for sleep. Sativa indica hybrid, if you're not buying flower, it's just not very relevant anymore. You can say to a bud tender, it's sort of like a secret language. Like if you say, I want an indica, what that bud tender in the dispensary knows is that you want something that's going to mellow you out, maybe help you sleep, but it's actually just easier to tell them what the effects that you want are and what products do most customers like to get those effects.
Yeah. So you guys, she's saying bud tender, and I'm just making sure my listeners know what we're saying. So bud tender is this term, you guys. So this is like bartender when you go to the bar. It's a bud tender when you go to the dispensary. And I just want to tell you, I've been going to the dispensaries for 10 years. And I think this is another stigma. You're going to go in, you're going to be with a bunch of weirdos. But no, you guys, first of all, these bud tenders are some of the nicest people I've ever met.
You're so passionate about cannabis.
They are passionate and they're chill and they're nice and they're helpful. They actually want to help you with whatever you're trying to treat. Okay. Because you can just roll up in there and say, here's what I've been diagnosed with, or here's what I'm struggling with. I need recommendations. And then you just tell them, I'm not going to smoke it. I'm looking for other modalities, and they help you out. And when I go in, Listen, I'm next to a lady checking out who's 85 years old. And on the other side, I've got it's everybody, you guys. Don't be nervous about going into your dispensary because it's very friendly, very secure, no big deal. Okay, let's just dispel that stigma right now. The dispensaries are fun.
Yeah, I actually have an ongoing series. I started it like 3 years ago with women all across the country sharing the story of the first time they bought legal weed because it's kind of nerve wracking, the first time that you do it. And so these women all across the country have sent in their stories and explained like the good, the bad, what happened, how it went. There are security guards, and that is because cannabis is still a cash business because you can't bank because we're still a Schedule I substance. So there are reasons that are not related to like it being a violent, scary experience. It's actually just trying to keep the money safe. So as cannabis has been legal now for longer and longer, these dispensary shopping experiences are much more like a regular shopping experience. The other thing that's happening though is that hemp-derived products, and this is a little bit complicated, but if you can walk into your local liquor store or some type of a small shop and buy products, it's because they're derived from hemp. And hemp can be made intoxicating. It's a long story, but this is what's
you're talking about like
all
this whole Delta 8, Delta
exactly,
whatever. Okay.
Exactly. So you can buy these products outside of dispensaries. And what's happening, and the reason that it is becoming such a big story is because so many people don't want to go to dispensaries, but they want to try these products. And so
they're getting this weird knockoff stuff at the gas station.
There is some of that, absolutely, but also many of the really incredible brands in cannabis are providing hemp-derived products and they are safe and they're tested and they're really wonderful products because this is how they can keep their businesses running because people aren't going into dispensaries at the same rates that many in the industry expected them to. And so this is providing access in a way that is very new. It's very controversial. People who have been selling through the dispensary channel for all this time are like, wait a minute, how come you get to start a business fresh without any of these issues?
With no regulations like this. Yeah.
And the access and the popularity of them is driving more and more really great businesses who have a lot of expertise to come into this. So the thing I have to tell your listeners is cannabis is still a complicated place. Trust your instincts. If you really want to find safe tested product, that is available in the dispensaries. A lot of the products in the dispensaries are also high potency, and that is not where I would recommend people start. So if you have the ability to try like a 2, 3, 4 milligram THC beverage, I would say try it and see what you think. Try it at home one night. Like just see how you feel in a safe setting rather than going into a dispensary and trying a really high potency product that is probably not going to work for you. So I don't want to confuse anyone.
No, because there are different, I don't want to say strains, but different ways they extract it even in that can change the effect it has on you because I've experienced this. But okay. And the dispensaries don't have as many options for the creams, the patches, the suppositories. They don't cater to that yet. And I know there are a lot of hemp products you can order online that have low THC, high CBD, that they'll deliver right to your house, you guys.
And those products are amazing. And many of them I have, yes. So it's kind of, the plan for the legalization of cannabis has not gone the way that many people expected. And now the way to access these lower dose products is through your liquor store, through e-commerce, buying these things and having them shipped to your house. And so it's this kind of funny moment where I've spent the last 3 years telling people like safe legal access. I am an advocate for safe legal access. And these hemp-derived products are falling in a gray area, but I just want people to know that there are some really, really excellent brands that have very high safety standards that are...
We're going to put links in the show notes too, because you have on your website, there's a page with a lot of the brands you recommend.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have that in the show notes, you guys. If you're wondering what brand, what's safe, what do I start with? Don't worry, you'll be able to click and figure it out. Okay, so basically what I'm hearing is indica sativa is not as big of a deal anymore, but this whole ratio of THC to CBD is where it's at. So we want much higher CBD than THC. If this is for purposes of managing medical problems, like you said, better sex, all of
Stress,
this.
sleep,
We
all
don't
of
need to
that.
get high as a kite. That's not necessary. Now, I will say I need a little bit more THC to fall asleep and stay asleep. I do. That's what I do with my gummy. When I started the dispensary, like I said, they didn't have tons of options, but it was a 10 milligram square gummy. And for reference, when I started and had not done any marijuana yet, or I'm sorry, any cannabis yet, I don't like that word anymore now, Ellen. So when I started using cannabis, I only took an eighth of that thing.
We say it's
so,
like biting the ear off of a gummy bear, you know?
No, just a teeny corner, you guys. So one 10 milligram would get me through more than a week. Okay. So if you're looking at cost wise, even listen, I think there's 10 per thing. And so that one little container would last me forever. Now you do build a tolerance if you're a daily user. So if you're using it bedtime every day, you're going to build a tolerance. So here 10 years later, I take the whole 10 to go to bed. But that's 10 years of, okay, now I'll take a fourth. A couple years later, I think I need a half. And I knew that because I wasn't falling asleep again. And I was like, okay, let's do a little more. Let's do a little more. Okay. So as you build up your tolerance, now I know people who 10 milligrams wouldn't even touch them because they use a lot pretty often. Okay. So this is a tolerance thing, you guys. So start incredibly low. This is a micro dose, tiny, tiny business kind of thing. You don't go in hard on this. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And so the different modalities, edibles last longer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What's an average edible going to stay in our system for?
It's going to take between 1 and 2 hours for you to feel the effects,
Mm-hmm.
and it can last from 4 to 8 hours is generally what people say. The interesting thing about edibles is when you eat, you will feel the effects more quickly. So it's kind of the opposite of alcohol. Like if you've had too much alcohol, you're like, oh, I should eat a burger and I'll feel more sober.
Yeah.
If you want your cannabis to hit more quickly, your edible, you to feel the effects faster, eat something. And
I didn't know that.
will increase the onset time so that it
So you're
feel the
giving
effects more
me
quickly.
permission to snack in bed, Ellen.
I think that I might be.
That's usually when I don't fall asleep on time, when I fight it, and then I'm a little bit hungry. Yeah. So, all right, if we want it to kick in faster, eat food.
Yes.
I love that. That's new. Okay. But for me, it does last about 8 hours. That gets me my 8 hours of sleep. It gets me sleep, keeps me asleep. It works perfect. But you're right. If you guys are starting and you're going to start with edibles and you're an hour in and you're like, oh, I think I feel it. I'm just going to bite off a whole half. No, guys, don't do it because it can take a couple hours, sometimes more. So just chillax. Just if you want to be asleep at 10 p.m., do your little nibble at 8, right? And see how long it takes. And then you'll be able to gauge it. Like I know now how long it takes almost exactly for my body. So I know what time to take it and I'll know what time I'm going to sleep by, basically.
And how long does it usually take you?
So for me, it's about 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that. Now I can fight. You guys, this doesn't knock me out. All right. I'm not like, I can't talk after 45 minutes. I can fight it. I can sit and watch my shows if I want to. In fact, shows become more interesting. So there's that. I have never laughed more than when I decide to stay up an extra hour and watch Schitt's Creek or something. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen all of a sudden. Okay. So that's just a fun bonus, you guys. But then I will fall asleep, right? Okay. So don't dive in too deep too fast is what I'm saying. Okay. Now, we talked about suppositories. There's a cream that you can rub on joints that are hurting. You can use cream, right? It's still, you're still going to absorb it in your bloodstream through your skin, you guys. But when you're rubbing it on that area, it's going to help that area more. Is that right, Ellen? Like it's going to get to that
CBD
area.
is really great for inflammation, and that's what most of these topicals have in them. And so, like I have like an elbow thing or a knee thing, and a lot of over the past few years, they've gone from being lotions to actually being more like a roll-on. It kind of looks like a roll-on deodorant, which is a really easy application method if you have any joint pain, which is also a symptom of menopause. So I am such a big fan of topical CBD creams for aches and pains.
Yeah. I used to wear a transdermal patch for pain because it just would slow release all day at a low level in my body. And that's just like the gummies. It's a big patch. And one patch would last me forever because I would cut it. I only needed an eighth of that thing too. And you stick it on like a Band-Aid wherever you different spots work better in your body, and then that slowly releases all day. So I did that for pain for a while. I used the transdermal patch, and that seemed to work really well too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are replacing things like Advil. I did a show recently with Nicole Brown, who's a strategy consultant in New York, and she lives this sort of fabulous life with all of her friends. And her friends, if they go out and have a little too much to drink and have a hangover, they're kind of like, oh, I guess I'll take Advil or Tylenol. It doesn't make me feel my best. And she's like, no, take a 3-to-1 THC to CBD edible. So 3 times as much CBD to THC. And 45 minutes later, you are going to feel like yourself. You're going to feel perky. You're not going to have any stomach issues. So it really can help with pain relief in the same way that it helps with menstrual cramp relief. Like low-level pain is cannabis with a higher percentage of CBD to THC will help with all kinds of kind of low-level pain effects.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so tincture. What's a tincture? Is that just... It's a liquid
tincture
form.
It's a liquid form. Many of these are in like a coconut oil, so it's an oil tincture. I love tinctures. I discovered them through cannabis, but now I actually take them. Wellness formula, which used to be these giant, enormous pills that I would take every time I thought I was getting sick. They come in a tincture. And so I just pour a little bit in. So I don't like to swallow pills. Tinctures are amazing. They actually work a little bit more quickly because it gets into your mouth. And so it doesn't have to be digested through your liver, which is why edibles take a long time. It absorbs quickly. You'll feel the effects in like 15 minutes usually. And they're terrific. And they're a little bit harder to find. I have a dispensary near me. I live in San Francisco, and I went in, I was looking for low-dose products. They didn't have anything for me. And finally, like in the bottom corner of a little cabinet, I was like, I see a 20-to-1 tincture. Like that's what I want.
Like dust that thing off. I want it. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're great to have around. For me, especially in like a 20-to-1 ratio, if I'm having like an extra stressful day, I won't feel any intoxicating effects, but I will feel a quicker sense of relief because the CBD is being activated by just that small amount of THC. So oil tinctures are amazing. If you are worried that you're going to be having too much THC and getting too high, a CBD only oil tincture will bring you back down. They're just wonderful to have around.
Okay. So you hear about these bad trips, and I had never had anything like that in my experience with this at all. The kind I usually buy was out at the dispensary, gone. So I grabbed a different one, same milligram. I was like, all right, I'm just going to do 10 of this. I'm sure it's pretty similar, right? Put me to sleep. So I took that thing. I think it was some ozone brand or something. I don't know. I won't ever buy it again. But it must have been the way it got extracted or something. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me what went down. I don't know what it was, but I had the worst night of my life. I thought my cats were raccoons. I couldn't figure out why they were in my bed. No, I was flipping out, Ellen. Like things were bad. I ended up throwing up. I ended up half naked on the floor of my room. And then I was trying to get back into bed, and it felt like Mount Everest. I mean, it was like and I kept thinking, what do I do? What do I do? And now I know, because of course, after you go through that, you do some heavy research. And I was like, all right, I got to always have the CBD tincture on hand. Because had I known back then, I could have downed a bunch of that and really instead I had a rough night. But yeah, that's a good tip, you guys. When you go buy your first THC product, get a CBD only product to counteract the whole thing.
And anytime you're buying a new product with THC, if it has CBD, the effects are going to be more muted. They're going to be more balanced. You're going to feel more of the physical effects, like, the sort of the benefits of having less inflammation, more than you're going to feel the intoxicating effects. Yeah. So if you're looking for a great
hybrid product is probably the best way to go at the beginning, right?
A ratio that has a balance, at least a balance of CBD to THC, if not significantly more CBD.
So 1-to-1 at least, or a 1-to-5,
yeah,
whatever
I
you
like
can
a
get.
3-to-1. That's kind of a great place for me. And I, when I go to parties or things like that, I'll bring 3-to-1s with me. And whenever I bring them out, people are like, "Oh, I love ththose," that, and I'll hear people say,
You are the queen of the party.
Like this. Well,
Ellen, you're Ellen. I want to go to an Ellen party because it sounds like you got the good stuff. I like
I do. And,
Everyone's real chill. No one's angry drunk. Everyone's just chill. I like that idea.
It's been really fun. I have friends who have been so kind and they're like, you've just like every product you've given me has been great, which is why I want to try more. And the reason that they're great is because they are not overwhelming. This is kind of, I'm giving you one, like the equivalent effects of maybe like a 1 to 2 alcohol drink. And everybody kind of knows how to manage in that space. You don't want to be driving. You don't want to be having major
we got common sense here. It's just like if you were going to have a couple drinks, like you don't, go.
But outside of that,
come on.
I want women to feel the benefits of cannabis and to feel great. And it's had such a positive impact in my life. And I really want to share that. And I wish it were as easy as like, cracking open something and just trying it. As we've been talking about, it's complicated, but I've been trying to simplify it. And once you learn a couple of basic rules that you can use as guidelines, I think that it's much easier to experiment and not have a terrible experience like the one you just described. I'm so sorry about that.
Because there's only a small amount of THC, it's technically legal, right? If it's hemp derived, how does that work? Because that's how we can order online and get it shipped to us and stop in the gas station, because it has a small, same with the drinks, with the THC drinks. If there's a small enough amount in it, you can buy it. Is that right? Does it have to be hemp derived?
So this is part of what is actually very, very complicated, because this does come down to following rules sort of to the letter that are different. It's supposed to be 0.3% or less THC in any product is what makes a legal hemp product. But with beverages, you can have 0.3% by weight, but you can still have more milligrams of THC. So you can have a 5, 10, 15. I've even seen very, very high THC level products that are derived from hemp. This is why it's such a controversial space, because there are great brands that are selling products that are kind of 5 milligrams and under, maybe even 10 milligrams and under. But then there are also people who are capitalizing on this kind of loophole and selling 100 milligram products. So the thing that I think your audience really needs to focus on, I would say, if you're not smoking, you don't really know about indica, sativa, or hybrid, that's not that relevant. What you need to focus on is the amount of milligrams, THC milligrams and CBD milligrams. And what you want is at least an even ratio, a 1-to-1. So the same amount of THC and CBD. I would recommend twice as much CBD, 3 times as much, especially in the beginning. So that's how I would those are the guardrails that I tell all my friends. And it's kind of like I like to drink beer. I like IPAs. And sometimes I'm like, am I having like a 6% night or like an 8% night? And
it's just like comparing what alcohol.
Exactly. So I think you just need to kind of frame it in that way, that some nights you want a glass of wine and some nights maybe you want a shot of tequila, and that those are going to have different effects. And I think that's what you need to know about the THC CBD ratios.
So you mentioned alcohol. So what's the theory behind mixing your cannabis and your alcohol in the same night? Bad idea, good idea? Do you do one first and one second? What do we do in that situation?
It's going to intensify the effects of both. So you just need to know that going in. And if that's what you're looking for, then that's great, but it will definitely intensify the effects of both. For me, the way that I like to consume is I like THC drinks. I like edibles. Those are the 2 ways that I have cannabis mostly. And I like to have one drink. And so that's kind of how I do it. Maybe I'll have a 3-to-1 edible and then I'll have a beer, and I'll feel a little bit more than I would feel with them separately.
With them separate. Okay.
But it's a really relaxing, positive feeling, where sometimes with cannabis and with THC, sometimes I get a little chatty. And so if I am going to a social event, I'll be like, okay, I think you do actually want the edible. You want to be sort of social and effervescent feeling. And alcohol sometimes can make me sleepy. And so 2 drinks would kind of put me to sleep. But if I have 1 drink and a 3-to-1 edible, I feel bubbly and also sort of the relaxation of alcohol. So you kind of need to play with it. But I would say
you can mix them, but I would not go hard on both in the same night. Seems like a rough night.
I think that the way that I talk to people about it is if you're trying to drink less alcohol, you can bring cannabis in and maybe you only need or feel like you want the effects of one drink. Whereas on a regular night, maybe you'd want 2 or 3. And with a little bit of cannabis, you get the benefits of the relaxation. And so you don't want to drink as much.
Or maybe none. Maybe you don't need any alcohol then. Because you still have that feel of drinking. You're drinking your CBD THC drink. And that might be enough. You might need to just be able to leave your liver alone for the night, you guys.
Yeah. I mean, so many people are
no hangovers, nothing.
Are replacing alcohol with cannabis in all its different forms because there are no hangovers and you don't drink your calories. I think that the way that I explain it to people though is if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable or nervous about like how you're going to feel when you're trying cannabis, try it at home. Like maybe instead of a glass of wine on like a Wednesday, you try a cannabis drink. But maybe on the weekend you still go out and you have your usual, or you like social interactions can put some pressure on the feeling of trying cannabis. And so just take that out of it. Just try it at home, try it with one friend and see how you feel over time.
I just bought these sober-ish drops. Have you seen these?
No.
Okay, so the company's called Sober-ish. And they're like you said, they don't smell or taste like anything. You just put them in whatever you're drinking. And it's super low, like you said, higher CBD than THC. They came mailed straight to my door, so probably low enough percentage, hemp-derived, whatever. And they were lovely. I did one dropperful, just like you said, at home, just in like my whatever I was drinking, that and vitamin water, whatever. And it was really just enough to just chill me out. I wasn't high. I didn't feel high or anything like that. I just felt like, yeah, like you said, like maybe if you had one drink, one glass of, I'm not really a wine drinker, but like one glass of wine or something. And that's all it does to you. And I love that it's bypassing, because we all know basically alcohol, like there's not one good attribute. I'm sorry, guys, if you're out there drinking, we all know alcohol has no benefit for us, right? Our bodies, it's poison. Anyway, I'm not judging because I have a drink here and there. But what I'm saying is this might be a great alternative if you're on a health journey even, and you want to say, hey, I'm going to try and just not put alcohol in my body. I'm going to give my liver and everything else a nice little cleanse, rest. Well, yeah, these drinks are an option. And I'm going to look through all of the brands that you recommend because I'm going to try those too. But the Soberish I enjoyed. I've ordered a couple different cannabis drinks, like in the can that you crack open. And those have been good too. So this might be something you guys want to do too. And with that CBD, well, you could really even up it if you had a CBD tincture and added extra CBD in there.
Definitely. A lot of brands send me products and some of the drinks are 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, which is just really high for me. And I take CBD generally I take a little gel cap. It looks like a kind of like a vitamin D. And if I'm feeling like, oh, this is a little bit stronger than I want, I'll go take a little CBD capsule and I'll know that I'll be fine. I can work through it. And, an hour from now, I'm not going to feel this way. And so CBD is totally your friend. It's like pumping the brakes on how intoxicated you feel. So the more CBD that's in there, the less you're going to have to worry about feeling intoxicated, not feeling like yourself.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Is there anyone, from what you know from the experts you've talked to and all the doctors, is there anyone who it's like, you're not a candidate?
In general, I would say trying cannabis before you're 25 years old is not a good idea. I tried it before I was 25. I'm okay, but your brain is still developing. And so the experts will tell you that really until you're about 25 years old, you should not be consuming cannabis. And that can be a tough message sometimes, I think, especially as parents are trying to navigate like what's good or bad about my, late teen, early 20s person drinking alcohol. Like cannabis seems like it's better. And so, yeah, under 25, I would say limit to stay away from it. Beyond that, I think that there are people who know themselves and know that adding substances might be harmful. I focus on harm reduction a lot. And so if there are other substances that you have tried that don't work well with you, it's hard for me to say who shouldn't try it. This is where I feel like I'm not a doctor and I don't know what to say. But in general, I would say 25 and under it's better to stay away from it. If you have conditions that you are concerned about from a mental health standpoint, then I would be very cautious. CBD has shown to be very safe. I would limit THC. If you're CBD, I think it feels like a vitamin to me. THC is the one that you just need to pay attention to what works best with your body and how you feel. I mean, one of the things about cannabis use disorder, I think there are 10 or more ways that you can check out whether you have a negative relationship. And one of them is, isolating from friends and family, all of those kinds of things that I think we all know are worrisome and not good for people. So just be cautious. But in general, I think that most people find cannabis to be very safe. And the lower the dose and the slower that you go, the less that I've ever heard any negative effects.
Yes. And obviously, guys, we're giving you information. You need to figure out if this is right for you or not. Ellen and I are saying we should all be doing it. No, figure out if this is right for you. I'm giving you the information, you guys. So if this is something you've been considering, you're armed with some of the information. So give me some tips. Okay, let's say I'm a middle-aged woman. I'm deciding I'm going to go give this a shot. How do I talk to my family and friends about this? Because a lot of people maybe are like, I'm just going to stay in the closet about this. I'm not going to tell anyone. And then you're hiding it from your family. I don't know. What's the best way to have this discussion with your family and friends?
I spend a lot of time talking about cannabis, and I started my career on Wall Street. I have an MBA. I've worked in corporate environments. Like most people who meet me are like, wait, you talk about weed? And, I came to it for medical reasons. It's been a super positive thing in my life. And I'm hoping that by talking about it in a normal way that I can make more people feel comfortable about it. I think that you kind of have to be brave and just say, like, I'm a grown ass woman. This makes me feel better.
And I think in middle age, we're already kind of there where we're like, I don't care what people think. Like, I just want to feel better. Right?
My parents are not cannabis consumers. They don't think this is like they still fall into the, like, this was an illegal substance. I don't know about this. And honestly, I've had so many conversations with them recently. They see that I have one drink of alcohol and they're much more comfortable with alcohol. And so are all of their friends. And I think that as alcohol is starting to be seen as something that maybe isn't so great for you, in some ways it's opened up the conversation that, oh, maybe cannabis isn't as bad for you as I thought, especially in lower doses. And so I think if you're having conversations about alcohol and how you're trying to find alternatives, whether it's one night a week or months at a time, I think that cannabis is just becoming a very clear option for people that are limiting their alcohol. And so, like, get on that train, like Good Morning America just did something about THC drinks. I think that there are a lot of people that are trying them, and if you are one of them, it's an experiment. You don't have to stick with it, or you can turn it into something that you love. But in general, I don't know. I feel like I've been reading a lot of books lately that I classify as low stakes drama. It's like, they're not like heavy books that are making me feel, so emotional about things. They're kind of just like stuff that it's dramatic and I want to keep reading, but it's not that big of a deal. That's kind of how I'm thinking about cannabis now. It's like, it's just not that big of a deal, having a 2 milligram, sorry, like, you're going to be fine. You may not even feel as much as you feel from one alcohol drink. So I don't know. I have a little fun, lighten up. If your family and friends are really stigmatizing you, I think a lot of that happened around smoking. And now that you don't have to smoke cannabis, I think that's opened up like accessibility to a lot of people. And if you use it for sleep, if you are really getting positive benefits, which so many people are, I hope that we can lower our judgment. And if you thought alcohol was good for you all this time, maybe what you thought about cannabis wasn't exactly true either.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because my husband does no cannabis, nothing. He's Mr. Straight-laced. And so I tease him every night when I take my gummy. You want some drugs? I just kid around with him. And so he's like, I don't do drugs. It's just a joke between us. He doesn't care. But I can tell you that from the beginning to now, just seeing the improvement in my health, my sleep, my mood, my life, like, that's it. He's on board. Right. So if our family and friends truly care about us and they see that positive change in you, I mean, they're going to get on board. And if they don't, like, probably ditch them, not the cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, you guys, they're not really on your team if they're thinking you should not do. They're being super judgy about it, because It's changed my whole health. It's changed my whole life because that sleep is so freaking necessary for everything to function the next day, to be a good mom, wife, worker, person. You got to have the sleep, everybody. And so, yeah, this might be something you guys want to try. That's all I'm saying. And it sounds like, if I can sum it up, sounds like Ellen's saying the best route to go if you want to try this is to go a high CBD THC ratio. Make it something that's, like she said, a fun drink or a little edible. They have little mints that have just a couple milligrams in them, whatever. We're going to, again, put links in there is there one company that if someone's starting out right now that you're like, try that first?
I love the cannabis beverage company Cycling Frog. Their drinks are really yummy. They make a black currant flavor that I like and a grapefruit flavor. And they've got 5 milligrams of THC and 10 milligrams of CBD. I split one with my husband and they're delicious. They're affordable. And I think they're really great.
Yes. And those drops I was telling you about, some of the drops are nice too, because you can monitor exactly how much you're putting in a beverage you already enjoy. If you're one that's like, I don't like the taste of that, I don't like carbonation, blah, 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 just make whatever your favorite drink is and throw the little tincture in, and you can monitor exactly how many drops you've put in.
A couple of brands that are making those right now. There's a woman-owned brand called Equilibria that is where I get a lot of my CBD from. And then there's a brand called 1906, which is actually it's named after the last year that cannabis was considered medicine by the U.S. Pharmacopoeia. Cool. So it's 1906. Okay. But they are all creating these products that, it's a liquid and it's flavorless. It doesn't have any smell to it, and you just kind of pinch it into your drink and then you can get the effects and, have whatever substance you want. Okay. And it's super discreet. So lots of new ways that you can try it and feel comfortable. And I think it's a wonderful option for so many women, but start at home, start when you're comfortable, and just start low.
And start low and slow, you guys. The gummies taste amazing, but you can't eat a handful
Please
like I would normally do with the gummies or something. No, that's not what you do. You take a tiny corner off the gummy and then you go eat your Oreos, okay, if you need something more. So
popcorn. Popcorn is it's very satisfying if you're worried about getting the munchies. It's just something great to sort of snack on that's a little crunchy. I got that idea from a chef.
And you told us if we do it with our gummy, it'll kick in faster.
Exactly.
Okay, that's new. That I learned something right there. That makes sense as I'm thinking through things. It's making sense to me why it maybe does kick in quicker sometimes for me. It's the food. It's the pre-munchies, I guess. Okay, that helped you out with that. Oh my gosh. All right, Ellen, this has been so good. Is there anything else that you would like all my middle-aged friends here to know about a cannabis journey?
I think that I just want your listeners to know that they are not alone. I mean, perimenopause and menopause are really tough. There's a lot more information that's coming out about them now. Cannabis can really help with a variety of the symptoms, and taking care of yourself may not look like what you thought. I think for many years we thought it was go to the doctor and take a pill and you'll feel better. And that just isn't working for women. And cannabis is, because it's something that you can figure out how it works best with your body. And I really encourage women to just experiment, just try. Trying doesn't mean you have to keep doing it, but there are so many benefits, and I feel them. So many of my friends feel them, and I wanted to tell more people about it. And I'm so grateful that it's been helpful for you and that you want to tell your audience about it too, because I think it's kind of like a girlfriend to girlfriend thing. You just have to talk to people, and somebody might need you to hear your voice to be like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about that, but maybe I will do it and try. And so access is making this a much easier thing to try, and a low dose product can be a great addition to your health and well-being, and it can also be fun.
Yeah. And the stigma's gone, you guys. Listen, Ellen and I are sitting here and telling you all about it. And we aren't a couple burnouts, right, Ellen?
No.
What's going on? And I know a million people, like I said, my trips to the dispensary, it spans the whole gamut, you guys. This is for everyone now. You will not be judged. I promise you, you won't. And anybody who's judging you, time to kick them off our path, right, girls? Because we're middle-agers. We're not dealing with that anymore. We're not dealing with that judgment thing anymore. So we got this. Ellen, this has been so good. I've learned so much. So if you have any more questions, first of all, you're going to head on over to Ellen's How to Do the Pot. This is all going to be in the show notes. You guys know that. Head on over there. There's you have over 200 episodes.
Yeah, almost 300. I know, it's amazing.
You guys can dive into this for months if you want to. Okay. So go in there, find if you have a specific concern. I guarantee she has an episode to explain it better for you. All right. So dive in there, figure it out, go to her website, check out all her recommended products because she's personally tried them and stands by them. We'll figure this whole thing out. We're in this journey together, you guys. We're figuring out this midlife thing together. And we didn't mention this. And I don't know if you're a meditator. Do you meditate at all, Ellen?
I do. I've had a practice for like 18 years.
Oh, girl, listen, getting into the right mind space before a meditation is a really great experience too. And I'm not talking about getting uber high, but it relaxes your body enough that you can get a little deeper in your meditations. Yeah,
it makes you feel more present, which is sort of the whole.
It is. It makes you feel more present and lets you tap into your subconscious a little bit easier and connect more with yourself, your higher self, all the woo-woo things, you guys. So we focus mostly on menopause, health, all the things this can help us with, but also it can help you in your spiritual journey for sure, because you're going to connect better. You're going to chill out. It may up your level on your meditation, your prayer meditation practice, you guys. So give it a shot. All right. I'm on board. Yeah. I was already on board, Ellen, but now I've got this renewed sense of, yes, let's do this. And I hope you guys listening are too. So give it a shot. And again, go listen to Ellen's stuff. If you have more questions, if you're still nervous, little Nelly, listen, it's going to be fine. Start low and slow with a higher CBD than THC content. And I think you're going to be just fine. And like she said, no one's ever overdosed and died from THC. You might have a little bit of a rough time, but you're going to have CBD on hand like we just taught you. So your rough time is only going to be 10 minutes tops, not like my fun night. Learn from me, everybody, and have that CBD on hand. Thank you, Ellen. This has been amazing. Feel free to come back anytime if you have more you want to share. I love it.
Oh, thank you. This has been great.
Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much, and I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.